Did you know that every single year, literally millions of dollars in hard-earned wages are stolen from New York workers? Yeah, it happens all the time through unpaid overtime and mysteriously shaved hours. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to break down exactly how you can recover your unpaid wages in New York State. If you've ever looked at your earnings and gotten that sinking feeling that something just doesn't add up, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're walking through the exact step-by-step process for taking action.
Okay, let's start with a highly relatable and incredibly frustrating scenario. Picture this. You get your paycheck, open it up, and wait a second. The math just isn't mathing. Maybe you were asked to clock out but keep working, or maybe management skimmed your tips. Whatever the case, that missing money pays your rent, right? It buys your groceries. So the burning question is, what can you actually do about it?
Well, here is the wild part. 6 years. That right there is the sheer power of New York labor law. Under federal law, you typically only have 2 to 3 years to claim unpaid wages. But New York? New York has one of the most generous look-back periods in the entire country, giving you up to 6 full years to recover what you're owed. That is a massive window to uncover hidden wage issues and hold your employer accountable.
Here's our quick roadmap for this explainer. We'll cover understanding NY wage claims, building your evidence file, the step-by-step filing process, investigations and outcomes, some pro tips and resources, and wrap up with key takeaways and a legal disclaimer. Let's dive right in. Section 1. Understanding NY wage claims and your rights under the law. First up, we need to understand the incredibly powerful statutory tools you have at your disposal in New York. While federal laws provide a basic safety net, the New York labor law, or NYLL, is basically your ultimate shield. Specifically, Article 6 covers the payment of wages and prohibits wage theft, while Article 19 establishes New York's specific minimum wage and overtime standards. The NYLL gives state agencies broad enforcement muscle and allows for much more substantial damages for workers like you. Let's look at how this actually plays out in the real world. Run through this mental checklist. Are you grinding out more than 40 hours without seeing time and a half? Are managers somehow dipping into the tip pool? Are you getting charged for cash register shortages or mandatory uniforms, which drops your pay below minimum wage? Or, and this is a huge one, are you being misclassified as an independent contractor when you're clearly treated like a regular employee? If any of this is sounding familiar, you very likely have a valid claim. Moving to Section 2, building your evidence file to prove your case. Before you do anything else, we need to talk about documentation. This legal concept here is an absolute game changer. It's called adverse inference. Basically, New York law states that if your employer fails to keep required records or tries to hide them, the burden of proof shifts entirely onto them. If they conveniently lose the paperwork, your personal documentation suddenly becomes the legally accepted, accurate account of what happened. Because of that, you need to start gathering your own evidence right now. Here's your checklist. Grab your pay stubs, your timesheets, and your original offer letter. But go beyond that. Take screenshots of text messages where your boss asks you to work off the clock. Keep a personal handwritten journal of the exact times you clock in and out. Seriously, even informal notes carry massive legal weight when your employer's official records mysteriously vanish. All right, Section 3, the step-by-step filing process. How do we actually turn this evidence into action? Filing an administrative claim with the New York State Department of Labor is a pretty straightforward 3-step process that actually doesn't require a lawyer right out of the gate. You just gather your evidence, complete a specific document called Form LS-223, and submit the whole thing through their secure online portal or via certified mail. Easy, right? Now, when you're filling out that LS-223 form, accuracy is everything. Answer every single question fully, because those details dictate whether the labor board will actually accept your case for investigation. Oh, and one massive rule to remember. Never, ever mail your original documents. Send copies of your pay stubs in text, but keep the originals locked away to preserve your chain of evidence. Let's zoom out for a second and look at your overall strategy, because you actually have a choice to make. You can take the state administrative route, which is totally free, but it might take a while because of case backlogs. Or you can file a private civil lawsuit in court. A lawsuit means you'll need a lawyer, but it often yields a much higher total recovery because you can seek statutory liquidated damages and attorney's fees. You can't do both for the exact same violation simultaneously, so you'll want to weigh these options based on how big your claim is. On to Section 4, investigations and outcomes. Once you hit submit, what's actually happening behind closed doors? Here is the administrative life cycle of your claim.
Within a few weeks, you'll get an acknowledgement letter with an official case number. Next, an investigator gets assigned to you. They'll reach out to your employer, demand their records, and maybe even show up for an on-site audit. They might try to mediate a quick settlement, but if the employer digs their heels in and refuses to pay, the Commissioner of Labor steps in and issues a formal order to comply, legally forcing them to pay up by a strict deadline.
So, what exactly are they ordered to pay? If the state finds violations, the financial resolutions can be huge. First, you get your back pay, every single cent they stole from you. But it gets better. New York enforces mandatory liquidated damages. That means the state can penalize your employer by making them pay you up to an additional 100% of what you're owed, plus years of statutory interest. Section 5. Pro tips and resources. Let's cover some expert strategies for maximizing your claim. Remember, the Department of Labor is a public agency that is literally mandated to work for you. They have local district offices everywhere, from New York City up to Albany and Buffalo. If you ever feel stuck or overwhelmed by the forms, you can just walk into an office or call their hotline. You don't have to figure this all out alone. But this right here is probably the most important pro tip of this entire explainer. So many people are afraid of being fired. Listen to this. New York law strictly and absolutely prohibits employers from retaliating against you for seeking your owed wages. They cannot fire you. They cannot demote you. They can't cut your hours just because you filed a claim. If they try it, they open themselves up to massive retaliation lawsuits. The law absolutely has your back. And finally, Section 6, takeaways and our legal disclaimer. Let's wrap up with the final steps you need to remember. Let's boil this all down to 5 core principles. 1. Act fast, because the statute of limitations starts ticking the moment your wages were due. 2. Leverage that incredible 6-year look-back window. 3. Document absolutely everything to shift the burden of proof away from you. 4. Make an informed choice between the free state process and a private lawsuit. And 5. Never stay silent out of fear. Now, a quick reality check. While this explainer demystifies the administrative process, it is strictly for educational purposes. Every single workplace situation has its own quirks. You should always consider consulting a qualified employment attorney in New York to look at the specific nuances of your case, especially if you want to maximize those liquidated damages through litigation. So what are you waiting for? Wage theft isn't some harmless accounting glitch. It is literally money being taken directly out of your family's pocket. Ask yourself, how much of your life have you given away for free? Go check your pay stubs today, because taking action is the very first step toward getting back exactly what you have earned. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.